Hey creative writing students, I just wanted to kind of join up with you guys and tell you a little bit about what your polished short story should look like and what each of those sections should look like. I have done my steps 1 through 5 or 6, and I wanted to kind of go over those with you just a little bit today. Okay, so here's my copy. Remember, it should be 1,000 words or more, and it's due Friday. Step 1, characters. So what you guys are going to do for each section is you can read the workbook that I put in Google Classroom, which is right here in the assignment. And then for that step, you're just going to talk about your main character. My main character is Amelie. She's a 10-year-old, and she is really tomboyish. She likes jeans and t-shirts and riding horses. She's just a very adventurous child. So you just fill out all of those steps about that character. It's kind of like a questionnaire. Step 2 is conflict. You're going to explore the conflict for the main character. My main character or protagonist wants more than anything in the world for people to listen to and value her opinions. So for that section, you just fill in what do they want, what are they afraid of, and what is their greatest weakness. For your physical antagonist, the person your character is fighting or going up against, you fill in the same things. What do they want, what are they afraid of, etc. This part trips some people up. An abstract antagonist is just something that is intangible or not touchable that your character is fighting against, like their own fears, prejudice, or something like that. The antagonist in my novel that is not a living, breathing person is disrespect and disbelief. So my character as a 10-year-old fights against people not listening to her, which I think a lot of young people do. So then you're at day 3. All you're doing is laying some really good groundwork for a well-developed story. Day 3 is plot. What you're going to do is outline or describe what's going to happen in your short story. There are 6 sections in plot. The setup. What's going on in your character's life at the beginning? The inciting incident. What starts the story off and kicks it into gear? The rising action. What happens that continues the story? The climax. What's the craziest or most difficult moment in the story? The falling action, what happens after the climax, and the resolution. Is there a happy ever after? How does the story end? So for my plot, we're going to start in Sunday school. We're going to have an inciting incident where she comes into contact with someone she's afraid of. The rising action is that the antagonist is going to push her and she's going to attack the antagonist to protect herself. The climax is that she gets into huge trouble for this. And then after that, I'm going to have her go home and kind of think about what happened. All right, this might be one of the easier parts, the setting. So all you're going to do for this is fill in some information to develop the settings that you're going to use in your story. So my setting, you only have to do one. My first setting is the protagonist's home. What is her home like? It's a small house in the country. The sounds, creaking floors, sensations, what does it feel like? Rough brown carpet. What does it smell like? What is the mood like? If you're going to do a second setting, your second setting that you describe should be something that shows us more about the antagonist in their life. So setting 1 about the protagonist, setting 2 is the antagonist. Think about how if you had a hero, what would their setting tell you about them, like the Batcave? Or if you had a villain as your antagonist, what does their lair tell you about them? So setting is important for telling us something about our characters. Last step, step 5, is dialogue. Mine are a little out of order, but that's because I moved them around. But basically you have things such as this. Write a scene of dialogue where a supporting character tells your protagonist something that will change the course of the protagonist's actions. For example, I have a character named Christy who comes up and tells her Jenna Lee is having a party and you're not invited. this changes what Amelie does about, her not being invited. Remember that when you're doing dialogue, you need to have your quotation marks. Always put a comma inside the quotation mark because the sentence is not over. You're going to continue it with some kind of she said, she did, he said, that kind of thing after it. Once you write your dialogue, you're ready for your first draft. What I'm doing for mine is I'm kind of outlining what's going to happen in order of the scenes. And what I'm also doing is copy pasting my dialogue in where it goes in the story. So all I have to do is write what goes around it. And that's it. I hope that helps you guys understand a little bit more. Hopefully later this week or maybe next week or the week after, we'll do some sharing about what your stories are, about your characters, what your plots are, things like that. And I want to do some things where you basically take a video of you talking about your story and you share that on a board, and I'll show you guys more about that later on. I hope you're doing well. I miss you guys, and I will see you soon.